economies or the way that we deal with climate change. I'm going to talk about something more fundamental, the thing that climate change actually affects, which is temperature, and how we can make money investing in that. So just talk a little bit about the Cumulus team. We're a specialist weather-related trading team, which Peter Brewer, whose picture is on the bottom left-hand corner, founded in 2005. Peter got interested in weather derivatives when he was at university and did his MSc thesis on them, and has been working with them ever since. And I think he's really shocked in some ways by the way that many companies who've got lots of exposure to the weather in their portfolio don't really understand that and don't really manage it. We hope that weather derivatives will provide the route for them to do that better in the future. We use our strategy expertise in two ways: in energy trading, the Cumulus Energy Fund, which we'll at the end, and in weather derivatives, the Cumulus Fahrenheit Fund. We've got a 6-person team. There's Peter there on the left. I'm the so-called European power veteran. When Peter uses this slide, everyone assumes that the guy in the second guy with the beard is actually a meteorologist for some reason, but I don't really quite know why. We've then got 2 analysts and a trader, because we trade our portfolio very, very heavily. As I say, we invest only in commodities and weather derivatives, and not in equities at all. So let's tell you about the Cumulus Fahrenheit Fund. This fund trades solely in weather derivatives on temperature. It targets 12% return with 7% volatility, and it hopes to get a positive skew because we think that our process works very well when it works well. And it trades front-month temperature futures, very short-term things. So a temperature future is effectively a swap or a future which settles against the temperature at a particular location. Usually these locations are airports because they have temperature measuring devices which are used for safety reasons, not like to be manipulated by investors or people playing in the market, and have got long histories of what the temperature can be. So what we do is if we think the temperature is going to be higher than usual in New York, then we get along the temperature. If we want to, it's very simple as that really. Then we'll wait to see at the end of the month and see what the result is. Now, climate changes that are happening are causing temperatures to change. And if you don't know about that when you invest in these markets, you're going to get very poor results, as we see soon. But actually having this market there and being able to invest in it does help people understand how the temperatures are changing. And we do think that helps price discovery and at the end of the understanding of climate change in the market. We launched the fund just over a year ago. We improved our weather forecast quite dramatically in February this year. Since then, we've returned 11.57%. We've had 65% of our trades being successful. So I think you can see we do actually have an edge in predicting temperatures. Why is this fund green? Well, as I said, it only makes money if it's better at predicting temperatures than anyone else. And doing this involves understanding climate research, doing weather forecast interpretation, and knowledge of temperature statistics and trends. And all of that helps people understand what's happening to the world at the moment. Now, as I've said, temperature is the thing that's actually fundamentally changed by the climate changes we're seeing. The price of the temperature futures has to take those trends into account, as well as the short-term change in weather events. We actually really welcome people into this market. We don't believe in climate change because they make a really, really good way of making money. So I think we can actually say that this is the most fundamental instrument, the cornerstone of climate investing. Why invest in our fund? Well, we're a team which has deep experience in this market and enables us to actually stay ahead of the market and improve our strategy to keep it there. We do have superior interpretation of weather forecasts, and I'll come a bit later to how that happens and why we can have edge in this market. And we also have very good analysis techniques which allows us to take the weather forecasts and the data we get out of them and change them to temperature predictions, allowing all the uncertainties in temperature and statistics. How's the fund done? Well, it's pretty much done its target return since inception, which is about 12% a year. I've put it on this graph. It was a very good time to launch this fund from the point of view of comparing it to what other things have done. It wasn't a particularly good time in terms of actually getting investors into it because people were so worried about the general market behaviour. There's one interesting, very interesting other comparator on this graph, which is the blue line here, which is the UBS Global Warming Index. Now that's actually an investable index, and what it does is it effectively gets long temperature at a mixture of locations every month and rolls that one in every monthly contract. And you can see it's done extraordinarily badly over this period. And the reason for that is easy to see, actually. One is that the trends in the market already know. So the temperature futures already take into account the global warming trends. So that index will only win if the global warming is actually worse than the transfer period. But secondly, it's very concentrated. It only really works in the northeast of the US. It's got 50% weighting to the New York and surrounding area temperatures. And the temperatures in those areas have a really bad time over the past year, which actually possibly could explain why some Americans might to believe that global warming exists. Therefore, what we need to do to make money in this market is actually to have a really good system for understanding temperatures and predicting them, and not simply rely on trends. I've told you we've got the best weather forecast, the best temperature prediction that anyone could have. And some people find that really hard to believe that a team of 6 people working in London can beat the US Met Office and various other people who've got billion-dollar computers. And the reason we can do that is because we don't try to actually have our own billion-dollar computer. What we do is we take the data that the other computers put out, and we have our meteorologist, Roy Norton, who was involved in the development of those computer models, actually understands which ones work best in which conditions. An example on the slide is that if you want to predict the weather for two or three weeks ahead, you really understand how the sea temperatures affect the air temperatures, particularly in certain locations towards the edge of continents. Most weather forecasts don't bother to do that because it's too complicated in the way that it's actually computer models have to work. It takes up too much computing power, but some do. So for certain conditions, for certain locations, the weather forecast with those models in them have to be much higher weighted in your data than the ones without those. So what basically we do is to take all the third-party models, combine them together, weight them appropriately to weather conditions and locations we're interested in, and that's why we've got an edge in predicting the temperature in the locations we're interested in. It doesn't mean we're better at predicting about skiing or for military operations in Afghanistan or for planting corn in the Midwest. That's really what the big meteorologists are trying to do. We're trying to do something much more specific. We do actually have another fund, the Energy Fund, and I think certainly by the definitions that we're given today, that also should be regarded as a green fund. We use the weather dependence that we've already heard about of this morning effectively, because the energy systems are so dependent now on green power, like wind, solar, and hydro, that the supply of electricity is also dependent on the weather, whereas in history it's mostly the demand for electricity that has been. So an edge in predicting weather allows us to have an edge in predicting very short-term electricity prices. So what we do is we actually apply this edge in taking positions in front month and second month electricity contracts in Europe, Germany, North Pole, and the UK. We also trade gas and coal and CO2 emissions. Because we're taking positions where we see value, that signals to the market the correct supply and demand. We're actually better at knowing the weather than anybody else is, and therefore we're better at predicting supply and demand in those markets than the actual incumbents are. Therefore, the funds that directly help the energy companies to balance supply and demand and reduce energy waste. And since all the balancing generation in these markets is CO2 emitting, we think that the funds trades directly reduce the amount of CO2 that's actually being emitted in these markets. So we have the Cumulus Energy Fund where we exercise that strategy. So it's specialised in near-term contracts where the impact on the weather is the most. Most other energy funds actually concentrate further away, because they regard the weather as being noise, which affects their ability to make money in the short run. We regard it as being signal, which actually allows us the opportunity to make money. This strategy has actually returned 179% over 4 years. It's set up as a quite high octane strategy, targeting 45% return on 20% volatility, and we're actually more than 45% up year to date, as of yesterday morning, 2%. It's the top ranked product in the Bloomberg Serco European Focused Energy Funds, and it also won the most innovative product award at Hedge Funds Review's European Performance Awards last year. And if you don't like the idea of 45% and 20% volatility, you can have an unlevered share class with a third of that return and a third of volatility. Again, I have to show you the disclaimer, and thank you for your attention. I hope you can agree that this is an uncorrelated and interesting way to get into environmental investment.